Happy Hump Day. Hello.
Hello. Happy day, yes.
How have you been?
I've been good. Yeah, it's been a great week. Feel very relaxed and happy.
Oh, lovely. Glad to hear
Mm.
it. Although it's been sad the funeral last night.
Yes, I did sleep through that myself, but yes, I know that you've seen it.
Yes,
Yes,
I
it's
watched it
just sad.
and I took this really cool picture. Hendy was sat on the sofa, like sat like a person, sat upright, watching the funeral, watching the TV. He watches TV. It was just really incredible
Mm.
to watch. I just found it fascinating, actually. And I reckon, I was thinking, I don't know if this is a bit morbid, but I was thinking we're probably going to see two monarchs die in our lifetime.
Yes, yes, King Charles, probably. He's 73 years old and just got his first job, so that's amazing.
Hardly.
Yes. Well, yeah, I suppose. But the royal family, I think the Queen Mother lived to like 110 or something. So you never know.
No, she was
Can't
like
remember.
103 or something, wasn't she?
Same difference.
I don't know. My grandma, my grandma on my father's side they lived till like 100.
Really? Wow. Amazing.
Live a long life.
I
Yeah.
did see a story somewhere that talked about this woman who wanted at her 100th birthday, wanted a letter from the Queen,
Yeah.
not King Charles. So
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like wonder what like there's a lot of comments about how he will be as king compared to her.
yeah.
It's not nice being compared to someone else, but I get that it's going to be a change for most people because she reigned for such a long time.
Yes, longest reigning monarch in
Mm,
history.
mm.
So yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, if you're her child, obviously you're gonna live in her shadow a little bit. So, mm,
It's true.
mm,
Mm. Anyway, that was interesting. Let's see what the future holds, shall we?
yes,
So
for
what have
sure.
you been doing since we spoke?
Well, we went to the Hunter Valley.
We did, as if I didn't know that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I was like, that was so much fun.
Yes, your organizational power is amazing. It was really good to get 8 people in the same place at the same time.
Oh well, it wasn't great, I rely on some room for maneuver and adjustments, which we had to do, but that's all good.
No, I think
Um,
it was really good. I think it all worked out in the end.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, it was fun. I really enjoyed myself, so thank you for being part of that. We went to a few wineries in the beautiful Hunter Valley.
the weather
Taste
was beautiful.
The weather was perfect.
Exactly.
And I don't know who took the photo of the dog, but that's one of my favorite pictures.
That's me.
Oh, I love that picture of the
Such an
dog.
awesome picture. Yes, I love it
I
too.
can't
So,
remember the dog's name. What was the
I
dog's
can't
name?
remember the dog's name. I can't even remember the wine guy's name. So, um,
Beautiful. We went to this winery. It was like, I guess, small family run. And we were tasting, and they had the dog, this big
yes.
dog, and he just wanted attention, didn't he?
Yeah, I know. He's so photogenic because even in the photo, when he's rolled over, he's like making eye contact with me. And I'm just like, look at this dog. Like,
Yeah, it's a
amazing. But
beautiful
yeah.
picture. I love it. Anyway, thank you. That was great. I had such a good time. It was great to get out and
Yeah.
away for a few days.
Yes.
And nothing else. That was all. That was what I was doing. I was getting ready for that,
Mm.
organizing that. So there isn't really anything else that I've been doing.
I'm just looking forward to, having a day off this week.
Oh, yes, we get the public holiday
Yes.
tomorrow.
Queen. Yes. Not tomorrow. Yes,
Oh,
tomorrow.
no, not tomorrow.
Yes, yes, because it will be.
No, it won't. We will have already recorded this,
Yes,
and
exactly.
the public holiday will have passed by the
Mm.
time anybody can listen to this episode.
Yes.
But that's okay. I wonder if we get it every year. Do you know what? I was actually also thinking, will it be every year? And also, the Queen's birthday is a holiday
Yes,
that we get that's coming up
exactly.
soon.
Mm.
Do we have to do the King's birthday now instead of the Queen's birthday?
I'm
And when
guessing.
is that?
Yes, I have no idea. Who knows when he was born? But it's not actually the Queen's birthday on that birthday, so I think they pick like a strategic day or something. I don't know how it's done, but
so many things will change.
yes, all the coins and everything with her face on it will have to. Although I haven't held proper money in a while, so
Yeah, I pay with it in my card. That's true.
yes, exactly. Without phones and things. So yeah. Anyway, I'm sure it will. Maybe Australia will have another referendum to become independent.
All right. Have you got a story for me?
I do. This is from The Guardian.
The Guardian.
I do like the name of the article, which is Little Mermaid star Hailey Bailey.
Oh, I thought it was Halle Berry.
Yeah, well, I guess it is Halle Berry. Yeah, but I don't know why I said Hailey. But
No.
Halle Berry, what?
How do you say her name?
Halle Bailey.
Yeah.
In awe at the response to her trailer for the trailer for Little Mermaid. Halle Berry. Jeez. Oh, that's gonna be bad. That's gonna play grief with your subtitles, which that later. My bad. Anyway, the article says that the Little Mermaid star Hailey Bailey.
Just pick one and keep going.
Yes, has said that she is in awe of the reaction to the film's trailer, which was released to the public on the 10th of September during Disney's Fan Expo. Bailey, who plays Ariel in the live-action remake of Disney's successful 1989 animation, was responding to a Brazilian tweet captioned compilation of reaction of Black children seeing Bailey as Ariel in Little Mermaid. Bailey posted a message saying, people have been sending these reactions to me all weekend and I'm truly in awe. This means the world to me. So, which is lovely. I've seen some of the reactions actually.
Oh, like what?
On Twitter and TikTok, I think it is, and I think it's predominantly girls that I've seen. I don't know if there are. There must be one with little boys as well. But anyway, they're just so happy. Like when and I think the moment that's most impressive is obviously when they realize, oh my God, Little Mermaid is being played by a Black girl. They're just like, mommy. It looked so cute, and they're just so happy. It's like a completely different way of looking at it for them, obviously.
So how do you know that's the reaction for that reason? Like
what they say,
the
little kids are like, she's Black, and there's kids that say she looks like me, and literally they just like amazed, because obviously they expected a white girl, so like to have a Black girl playing it must be like so cool.
It must be. I can't think of. I mean, and in it, obviously, all Disney, whatever, it's usually Caucasian, except for more now, we've got some Pacific Island kind of characters happening recently, in recent years. But yeah, I can't think of.
No.
Have I missed somebody? I can't think of any.
I mean, this is focused on like having the reaction of children, which is amazing, and to have them have this representation when they're little is amazing.
It's absolutely amazing.
You can't be discounting the fact, like I remember when we talked about like Bridgerton, and I didn't watch the first season because I watched I think an episode and I wasn't really that into it, but anyway, but the second season came out and everybody was talking about the two Indian girls in the season, and I had to watch it because even though I hadn't seen season 1, I was like, oh, there's Indian girls in it. So I was just like fascinated by the fact that this was a major drama in the UK, but there were like and to be honest, I loved it. So and I think part of it was the fact that there were two Indian girls. So,
and that's what I loved actually. I loved how it turned what you expect on your expectations on its head. I thought that was really cool. And it didn't detract from the story or you thinking about the historical time.
No,
it didn't detract from that because characters were paid. You just you just bought the character. You weren't really thinking about them being black or white or whatever.
Yeah, but it made people, I think, of color feel so included in the thing. Like you can't, yeah, it is really different to see someone who looks like you on the screen.
It really is. And I think I already said that when I was growing up, that was a real, I took that lack of representation as a reflection on me as a person in society.
Yeah.
And many, I'm sure many others do. So I think it's amazing, but it's very sad that it's a recent thing, actually.
Yes. And that comes to like all of the other stuff, because obviously there's all of this reaction, positive reaction to the trailer, but there's also has triggered a backlash, obviously, against Bailey's suitability for the part, which was largely characterized as racist, basically. So the trailer itself appeared to have become a target for internet trolls after it collected 1.5 million dislikes in 2 days. So YouTube has disabled the thumbs down button, while dozens of comments below parodying the positive response to by citing the dialogue from other films. So I think that's all it mentions in the article about the the racist reaction to it, which I think is actually really good. I think it's better to focus on the positive side of it, because I mean there's the Little Mermaid, of course, but then there's also the prequel to Game of Thrones that has come out. Not Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings. Game of Thrones has also come out, but Lord of the Rings.
Is that the Ring of Power thing I've been watching?
Yes.
I watched another episode when I got back the weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad it's not all available, because I would be binge watching it so badly.
Yeah, I think I'm waiting to binge watch it because
you'll just binge watch it for sure.
Yes, I think so. And I love Lord of the Rings and I love The Hobbit and everything. But of course, they're the same people who are coming out and saying because there are black characters in this show that it's somehow unauthentic. It's not true to form. It's not true to form. And it's like, bro, I get it. It's back in the Middle Ages, but it's back in the Middle Ages in Middle Earth. Like the place doesn't exist. It's all out of fantasy, So to include, people of color in the show is just, and to say that it's not authentic, it's ridiculous. So
it's hilarious. You don't also have little tiny people with big hairy feet.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe Neanderthals, I don't know.
Or elves with pointy ears.
Or elves, yeah, you didn't have them either. But
yes,
so I think it's good that I love the fact. Actually, do you know who's in it that's really famous? Black. I call him a celebrity, but actually his career as a comedian. So the fact that he's in there as an actor is quite interesting. Although I know he's done a bit of acting. Is a comedian called Lenny Henry. It's a UK comedian called Lenny Henry. He used to be married to Dawn French.
Okay. I know who Dawn French is.
Yeah, so he used to be married to her. They had a daughter. They have a daughter together. But yeah, he's in it. He's like one of I call them hobbits, but they're not hobbits in this, I don't think, but they look like that kind of community. But yeah, he's obviously black, and there's a really hot black elf. Yeah, in it. Oh, he's.
I know who you mean. So yes,
you know who I mean. He's hot, right?
Yeah, I've seen
yes. Yeah, and I'm just thinking what are the color. And then, I love how not the elves. No, this is nothing to do with ethnic minorities, or maybe it is Scottish. All the dwarves have Scottish accents. I didn't know that they were a Scottish community. Actually, there's a dwarf wife who's black. I just realized. So you don't. I don't notice. I'm focused on the character because it is a fantastical character. They all are.
Exactly.
It's quite interesting. So I don't see it matters if there are our real day version of black or white or Indian or whatever.
Honest, it just reminds me that the first 6 movies didn't have any.
Actually, it only just occurred to me.
Yeah. And I'm just like, well, what was that all about? So no, it's crazy. Anyway, but it's improving. This is what we say all the time.
Yeah. So there was a backlash. I don't know if this is true, but wasn't there a similar thing about Bond potentially being black?
100%.
Or
There
was
was
it
a huge
another?
thing. Because I think when they said it might be Idris Elba, I was just like, oh, that will be amazing. Because I'm not a huge fan of Bond, but I know
I
you
am.
are. Oh, I know you love Bond. But yeah, no, it was amazing. And then when it was a black woman, I'm sure there was a lot of,
Oh, she's another 00. She was a 007 though, wasn't she?
she was a 007,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think there was a possibility that, that she would be, she would have her own movie, or at least somebody talked about it, but I don't know. But, they always do this. The first Ghostbuster movie with all women, remember that
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
like huge. People were like, oh, I will never go see this movie and all of this, and because they're all women, it was ridiculous. So I don't think it did very well at the
I
box
didn't like
office.
that one.
Yeah, I
I
don't think
wasn't
it
a
was
fan.
to do with women.
I wasn't nothing to do with the fact that women, I just didn't like that version at
Yeah,
all.
exactly. I don't think it was as entertaining. But anyway, there are plenty of examples of the reverse.
All right. Well, we have to go and watch Little Mermaid when it's out. I didn't realize that they were
Yeah.
making it.
Actually,
Oh, I think
Disney
that's
has
so
its
cool.
own
I'd
show.
love to see more. Yeah, Disney movies have minority characters
Yeah.
because I remember I talked to my great friend of mine who's Asian, and he was raving about a Disney movie because it was like the first, I think it was one of those Avenger. I didn't get to see it in the end. Avenger movies where the superhero is Asian.
Oh,
What was it?
Avenger movie. Oh, yeah, I know. I think I know the ring thing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I know who. Oh, I'm never going to remember that. The name of the play, the thing. Yes, exactly. That was very cool. Yeah, again, didn't love the movie, but not because of that. It was just
Not the best. But I just like was starting to see, like, even what was the Black Panther with the majority of cast being black, and unless normally the only time you ever see that is if you're watching a movie about slavery.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you don't get that in Hollywood.
Yes.
So I just think that's great.
Yeah.
Actually, the only other movie as well that you might have got that is Eddie Murphy movie. Not his like cop ones because he was generally the only black person then, but he's Coming to America one. That was really good.
That was the best movie ever, honestly. But that's what it shows. It doesn't actually have to be so, heart-wrenching. You can just make films with people of color that are entertaining and amazing and become classics. Like, it doesn't have to be, because, when you watch movies like 12 Years a Slave and things like that, I mean, oh God, sometimes you can only watch movies like that once,
I can't even watch them. Actually, I haven't watched it because I can't watch things like that.
Yeah, no, it's yeah.
I just enjoy it. Oh. All right. That's really cool. Talking to kids shows.
Yes.
There's a story that I picked up because I thought it was really cool. I'm loving seeing and hearing more about representation of all diversity in TV targeted at children, such as, The Little Mermaid. But there is an Australian TV show that's for kids and it's really popular. And I only know this because we've got friends that have kids that constantly talk about that have totally mentioned this. Otherwise I wouldn't even know what it is. And it's this show called Bluey, and it's Australian. And I was just going to read it, but it's taking the time to load. Bluey, I think, is a dog. The character, a dog character that apparently kids go crazy for this show. And it's praised because they've got representation. So Bluey praised for representation of Auslan community and also fertility in episodes Turtle Boy and Onesies. So Bluey is a little doggy. But it's Australia's internationally celebrated children's show, is making grown adults cry again for its representation of 3 new characters. So Bluey was made by Brisbane-based Ludo Studio, renowned for its unexpected hard-hitting moments on the issues including friendship, parenting, pregnancy, and even death. So 2 new episodes from the latest season, Turtle Boy and Onesies, are no exception. In Turtle Boy, Bingo finds a toy turtle at the playground and wants to take him home. But her dad, Bandit, says it's not the done thing. Fans have described their delight watching the moment the episode introduces newcomer Dougie and his mum, voiced by actress Miranda Tapsell. Dougie, based on a Cavoodle, is profoundly deaf and uses Auslan to communicate with his hearing mum, who signs and speaks. Oh, that's good. And then the Bluey official Facebook page is full of praise from viewers to the creators of including signing characters in the show, but not making it the focus of the episode. I think that's really cool. I'm going to skip a bit of that. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think they did go to a lot of trouble because they tried to make it so authentic. And I think they could only use, because, I think the characters only had 4 fingers or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3, I think 3 even.
Yeah, but not quite as many as the normal people have. So it's a bit hard to do some of the sign language. So I think, they really did do an amazing job. Not that I've actually seen the episode. I haven't seen any Bluey.
No, I haven't seen it, but it does say, that they only have 4 fingers on each hand. So they were limited. But that's really, really great that they did that. I think that's amazing. And there was another one, but it's a UK cartoon, and that one wasn't Bluey. So Peppa Pig, which is also internationally, right? People know that. Similarly,
I've watched an episode, but yes,
I've never watched an episode. Introduced a same-sex couple with 2 mums. Pig with 2 mums. I thought that's really cool. Really, really cool and progressive thing to do. To show kids that might be in that situation, may have 2 mums or 2 dads.
Yeah.
That, that's normal in the world.
Yeah.
And they're not, there's nothing particularly different about it. It's still a family. It's still considered a family, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I think the most you can make other people feel, well, the less you can make other people feel like they're other or outside the norm, the better it is for everyone, right?
Exactly. Although there are some people that really want to feel that way. Don't want to feel, when teenagers do this, you're growing up, you don't want to be like everybody else.
Yes.
And the ironic thing is that they become like, what's it called, emo or goth or whatever, skater. I don't know. Sorry, I apologize. Don't know the right terms.
Are they even valid anymore? Is the question.
And to be different, not to be like everyone else.
Yes.
And yet fall into a big group of people. That's quite funny. But there are people that actually don't want to be considered the same as others, or categorized as normal even. But that's okay. That's okay.
Yes. All individuals.
All individuals, exactly.
Yes. Okay.
The key takeaway for me is representation is important. It really matters. It really makes a difference to, our children as they're growing up, as they're discovering about themselves, who they are, where they come from, where they fit in the world, what they're capable of, and what's possible. And I don't know about you, but I was always told as a child I could do and be anything I wanted. But to believe that, you have to see it modeled.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's, what am I trying to say? I think it makes you feel like you can celebrate a part of yourself that not everybody feels as if is worth celebrating, especially growing up, though. I think it was more, for me, it was more easier to be white. Obviously you don't get picked on or whatever, so it would be better. Whereas it would have been much nicer to say that, oh yeah, I'm, Fiji Indian and celebrate the fact that instead of trying to downplay that whole side.
So did you try and downplay it?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think it was something to, especially because at that time, a lot of my school was white. I mean, there was obviously other kids around, but I hung out with mostly the white people, except until I went to senior high school, which was, again, was such a cultural shock for me, going from like hanging around with purely white girls in my girls' school to, hanging out with people who like me.
So was there nobody like you? Because the thing is, I did, but there was nobody like me at school. I was the only black kid in my school.
No. There were Indians in my school, mostly Fijian Indians, but I steered clear of that purposely.
Yeah.
Because they were picked on more, basically.
Okay.
And I didn't want to be, so I was just like, and I could pass better in high school, obviously, because I grew up here. I came here when I was 8, so I was a lot, I mean, the way I talked and whatever was basically like everybody else, whereas those kids came here when they were teenagers, so you could tell that they were, or whatever, so it was
Right.
they had more of a group, so it was easier to be like, oh, that's them and I'm here.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
totally get that.
so,
Yeah.
It was, and I could barely speak Hindi at that point. When I moved from junior high to senior high and started hanging out with all these kids that were like Fijian Indian who spoke Hindi, I could not string a sentence together. And it was actually quite embarrassing at that point, because they used to call me the white girl, because I didn't know, Hindi. I didn't know the movies. I didn't listen to the songs. So, I had nothing to add of value in that, conversation. So
how did that make you feel though when
yeah, no, it was difficult that first year, because then I was just, it's sort of, I fell into that group. So then, and that by that time, actually, the senior high school was a lot more mixed, like a lot more mixed. So then I was sort of, what am I going to do? Leave this group of friends I've made just to go find more white people to hang out with? So I thought probably not a good idea. So, and it wasn't as if, they did joke, and that, it was more joke. It wasn't really like they were bullying me or anything like that, but it was just uncomfortable at the beginning, and, at that point I hadn't put together that I was doing it, just to make my life easier, and, yeah.
you tend not to be as conscious about those things.
Yes, exactly.
And I don't see, I mean, I'm not an expert on child psychology, but I don't see it being different for any child. You want to fit in, you want to be liked,
you
don't want to be different, and you don't, and even if you are, because we are all different, you don't want it to be, you don't want to be made fun of or picked on. Nobody does. And the more you're more likely to if you're different, right?
Yes, exactly. So
so that's why representation is so important.
Exactly.
For young minds.
Yes.
So that they can, some kids that maybe just walk off a duck's back.
Yeah.
I'd love to see kids where that's the case. Where it doesn't matter what society is telling them. They've got such a deep, some sort of divine confidence, knowing that they are, a beautiful human and can do whatever they want, be whoever they want to be, embrace whoever they are. Anyway, representation is important. I guess that's the point of what these stories are highlighting.
Yeah. Okay, so the next story is from the BBC, and it's good. So Reliance Industries, the daughter of Mukesh Ambani, has become part of his succession plan, which is, pretty awesome, and I'll explain what that means. So basically, the first bit of the article starts talking about, Reliance Industry is owned by Mukesh Ambani, and he's a billionaire. He's, I think, the second richest man in Asia. So, lots of money, lots of power, and all the rest of it. But since COVID hit, all of these big billionaire companies, family owned, they're putting in place succession plans, which they hadn't done before. Ambani himself had to fight his own brother to get control of the company. I think, it talks a little bit about that. But then the article goes on to talk about Aisha Ambani. So she is one of the twins, born first. So she has a twin brother, it's her, and then they have a younger brother. But basically, Mr. Ambani, who's 65, is actively involved in running Reliance as a chairman and director, and could have brought more time before thrusting his children into the limelight. I don't know what that has, but unlike many other Asian patriarchal company holders, he represents a new generation of family business leaders in Asia who've witnessed succession feuds and want to take every step possible to make the journey for their children smoother. So that's the whole point. And the gender shift component of it is that what is really reassuring is that the role of women in the succession plan has been reassessed. So speaking of the leadership roles, his three children were assuming. Mr. Ambani in his speech said that they are first among equals in a young team of leaders and professionals who are already doing amazing things at Reliance. So Aisha Ambani's rise as an equal to her brothers is a clear shift from her older female relatives. Her aunts got married into other business families long before the inheritance dispute split the Ambani family. And I think, so Miss Ambani, she's a Yale graduate who has worked in consulting with giant company McKinsey, has been groomed to join the Reliance empire. So that's pretty cool. And I think what everybody else is saying, that it's a significant move that will set the tone for other business families to make women part of the forefront of leading these companies. So
okay,
it's really cool. Yeah, no, I think
so. I get this right. I think I'm sure I've seen this movie before. You got this big multinational billion-dollar company that I've never heard of. This one happens to be Reliance Industries. With all these kind of little businesses and subsidiaries and whatever, but they're just basically billionaires. And unless you're in that business world or you follow the Fortune 500 companies, which I think they are, you wouldn't have a clue where they were. But in Asia, there's a lot of them. And typically in Asia, it's usually a son. It's a bit like the blooming royal family. You know, the firstborn, the oldest son that would take over the business once the father's out. But then you can sometimes get little what do you call battles, fights about which son is deserving, which should take it on the business thing. Like you said, him himself fought his brother. And now because of COVID, I don't know, did lots of people die in COVID? Were they dying? I'm just thinking, why COVID?
I think it was just because everybody was dying. I don't know if, they had family members who passed away, who maybe they did, but I think that so many people were dying that it was a possibility. I was going to say, if you think about that movie, Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen it, right? Of course. But that is kind of like this, family, big business, whatever, lots of cousins. And the whole movie focuses on that Henry guy's character, right? I forget what his name is. Anyway, the son of the family, but he has a sister, right? And nobody actually talks about the fact that, she should be a bigger deal. Like everybody talks about that the son is going to inherit the whole business. But yeah, now that I think about it, they don't actually focus on the daughter and her business or, her contribution. She just does shopping. She goes off and buys really expensive earrings and hides it from her husband.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Her side of the movie is all just about the fact that, her husband, can't.
Her husband isn't as wealthy.
Exactly.
She married him, but she brought the money.
Yeah. But there is no other complexity in her life. Like she wants to shop, but her husband is like, doesn't have a lot of money. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so there you go.
Oh. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's really interesting. I guess, yeah, it reminds me of those movies. But then I wonder because I feel like your family is setting you up. I mean, I could be completely wrong, and I'm happy to say that it may or may not be true. But then they kind of set you up, like for example, in this story, you're saying that she went to Yale. So it kind of seems like she was already being groomed before the whole, like there was always an expectation that she would be in business if she's, unless it was just, you know, I guess they were very they just let her do what she wanted, and that's what she wanted, obviously.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It could be, or and I don't. The article obviously doesn't specify, but like it could be that her aunts also had business degrees and things like that because they were rich. You know, obviously they're rich and they can, I mean, afford that kind of education, I suppose. But they were still married off, and you know, maybe they didn't focus. I don't. I think her education is important, but I think that she's given the opportunity to be the CEO or whatever she's going to end up being is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, that's what she wants to do, of course.
And the other thing that came out of the article, that there has been legal changes in India. So to the Hindu succession laws for inheritance, which gave women equal inheritance right, irrespective of marital status, have helped smooth the way for women. Experts say that the government ruling requires women to be included on company boards is increasing representation as well. So
that's really cool.
Exactly. So I think, yeah, if you, I suppose there was a law that said that if you were a married woman, you weren't entitled to your parents, you know, inherit, you know, wealth or whatever. But now it's not the case. So
I didn't even know they had a law, but I wouldn't know that, would I? Yeah. Oh, that's great. It's a great step forward.
Exactly. It is exciting. I'm very happy for it. Will work. It's good.
If she wants to do it.
If she wants to do it. Well, clearly she does, because yeah, she's very happy. She seems
I mean, it might be really, just think of the pressure.
Yes.
If you belong in a family like that, the pressure, I mean, to you know, the expectations you're going to take over the family business, and you know, maybe it's very successful. If he's in this, you know, the Fortune Global 500, then it is successful. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, but isn't it nice though, because back in the day it would just be the son.
Yeah,
right? The eldest born son, it would be his responsibility, and he would have the entire lot of the pressure. But now at least he can say, oh, I can split it with my siblings, you know, because all three of them will have, you know, parts included.
Oh, okay.
So that pressure can hopefully be spread out, and you can be like, we're all responsible. I'm not the only person, you know, who has to carry the family name or whatever the hell it is supposed to be. So yeah,
that's true. That's interesting. That's really good. So it highlights highlights a few steps forward, right?
Exactly. If we counter any steps back,
maybe.
Yeah.
Let's hope. Here's hoping. We can be positive. And okay, so I hope you like this idea of introducing a new section. I don't know what to call it. I thought it would be interesting until we get some stories coming in about, basically, I'm going to feature this part of the podcast and call it, what would you do? Right. What would you do? Second point. Yeah, what would you do? So I'm going to read a story and literally going to ask you, what would you do? Okay. And the story will highlight some form of discrimination bias, of course. But really, let's just give it a go. You up for it?
I'm being tested, yes. Let's go.
You up for it? Okay. All right, here goes. Oh, just a disclaimer. I get a lot of this material and resources from the Lean In organization. Sheryl Sandberg founded Lean In. It's amazing. It has amazing resources. And one of the I do facilitation workshops with their material. And I also develop similar material for my own. So some of these scenarios will be from Lean In. So here is a scenario for you. Ready?
Yeah. Let's do it.
So a colleague recommends a man for promotion over a woman, saying, I'm not sure about her long-term commitment. She just got engaged, and I think she wants to have kids soon. What do you do? And what would you do?
Look, obviously, the PC answer is.
Oh, I want the PC answer. I want your answer.
So I have never hired based on gender. I should say that. But having said that, we have all joked about the fact that, oh yeah, she's married, she's gonna have a baby soon, but not in a way that we would ever use to not hire someone. But I think, it happens that when somebody gets married, when a woman gets married, it's usually a thing, that you think about. Well, she's going to get married. She wants to have babies soon.
Okay.
So in that situation, obviously, I'd point out that if the woman did a good enough job as the man did, then they need to both be considered for the role. It can't just be the woman. So my industry is very female dominated, so it's just actually men are more rare to be in my industry. So I think you can't take away from the fact that everybody does consider it, that if a woman becomes pregnant, it's she's going to be on mat leave, how long is she going to take, we're going to have to replace her, blah blah. And I think it sucks that it is something people think about. I wish it wasn't, but
Okay.
But in terms of the roles we offer, I don't think that ends up being a disadvantage, because of course we keep the roles open, and it is the same position you come back to in the same, and it's very flexible in terms of the hours you want to work and everything like that. They want to have you.
Okay. So there's some. So the point is, though, there's some assumptions there. Because in this specific scenario, the scenario is there's a promotion, there's a man and a woman. Let's just say they're both equally good. Or let's just say, for argument's sake, the woman's slightly better, maybe a better candidate. The response is, I'm not sure about her long-term commitment. She just got engaged, and I think she wants to have kids soon.
Yeah.
So then what would you say? Yeah, mate, you're right. Well, what would you do? Would you agree with that? Or would you do something else?
Yeah, so I have been in that situation, and I've said, yeah, you're probably right. She might want to get married and have kids, but if she's the better candidate, she's the better candidate, and we need to hire based on the job and not the possibility that she's going to have kids. And
okay.
She will have kids, so she may not, or whatever. But that's it's more about the job than it is about the person. But I can imagine that in other industries that are not female dominated and have a lot of females, because my management team is pretty much made up of all females and only one male. So I think in that case, I can imagine people going, oh yeah, sure, you're right. Maybe it is better, even if she does the better job, to hire the man.
Okay.
Stick around.
Cool. And I get that as a consideration. There's a few things here. There's so this is what it says. Prompt your colleague to explain their thinking, which is I just did for you. So suggest to your colleague that women should decide for themselves whether or not they want to take on new challenges at work. Because somebody's just got engaged, it doesn't absolutely guarantee that they want to have kids soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even if they did, they might be the type of woman that wants to have the baby and come back after 6 months or 3 months. And I remember when I moved to Australia, I noticed that women took compared to where I was coming from, the UK, women did take a lot of maternity leave.
Yeah.
Which really surprised me, because in the UK, you would hardly find anyone taking longer than 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Cool. And I think it was because I think that at the time, it could be completely different now. It was like the statutory, maternity payment. I think it was around what the mandatory payment was. Whereas here there's no mandatory. It's like company specific. Or I think in the last 5 years something was introduced, but when I first got here there wasn't anything. And people were taking like 6 months, a year off to
Yeah.
have children.
But I mean, as a difference in my workplace, one of the girls who was going on mat leave, who said she'll come back in 3 months, was actually told by one of the managers, do you really think you'll be back in 3 months? Why don't you take some time? Because you might feel differently, to encourage her to actually take more time than just 3 months, because it just seemed crazy short to
Seemed too short.
Yeah,
But that's me. In some
really,
countries, it's like,
yeah. And she
is like-
insisted on actually coming back in 3 months, and everybody was like, oh my God, that's amazing, because no, you know, people don't take, they take a year and so on at least. So
But that's the thing, isn't it? It's like the choice, how you feel.
Yeah.
It's making an assumption that somebody's going to take that much time off.
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes depending on who the person is, you can have that conversation. We've done it at work when you've asked people, you've asked women, okay, so do you plan to have a baby? When do you plan to have a baby? How can we figure it out so it all fits into work? And we've done that before and said, right, you know, this is what the plan is. So you plan to get pregnant. I mean, not everybody is that open, but it would be amazing if everybody was, right?
But you can understand why people aren't.
Yes.
When there's the bias there. Because this is
100%.
we're talking about maternal bias here. And how do we change this bias? And I think, well, what we're seeing happening and what really needs to happen is men need to be given the same. There needs to be a similar expectation. There needs to be no maternity leave as such, as more like parental leave, which applies to men and women, and that's started to happen in a lot of workplaces. And men need to be able to take as much time and also be able to declare themselves as a primary caregiver.
Oh, 100%.
And that needs to be policy.
Yeah.
And when that becomes a part and parcel of a possibility, of an opportunity for fathers, then it diminishes the potential for maternal bias as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what needs to happen, because it's hard to imagine what we'd say about a man who recently got engaged. You know, what would we say? Exactly. He's just got engaged and I think he wants to have kids soon. All might be true.
Yeah.
But then it's not going to affect him getting the job.
No, it isn't. I don't know. I think the paternity leave at the moment for where I work is about a month. And that's it, really. There's really no conversation around whether, but to be honest, nobody has approached us to take longer than that. But yeah, it'd be good.
Well, that's the thing. I think, you know, when women get engaged and married, and actually there's some stats on this, it says when women get engaged and married, studies show that they start to experience maternal bias. So people, consciously or unconsciously, and we just had a whole conversation there, start to question the competence and the commitment. And it's based on a belief, whether you're conscious of this belief or not, that women can't be fully present at work if they have responsibilities at home. And if you think about our friends that have had children, you know, sleepless nights, hard getting any sleep, coming in and working, but the partners are going through the same stuff.
Exactly.
So, you know, the fathers are going through the same thing, and are people questioning their ability to be at work or be present?
Yeah. The few men that we have at work who've had kids, you can tell, you know, they're tired and they're, you know, obviously haven't had enough sleep and are stressed and whatever. But yeah, everybody's like, oh, I'm so sorry that you're going through all of that. But then nobody goes, oh shit, they can't do their job because they're so tired. So yeah, that's like.
So there you go. So that was just an example of maternal bias. And what you can do, question somebody about that double standard. Would we be saying the same thing if it was a man? And you might, and like we just had that discussion, men should be able to take that time off as well.
Yeah, exactly. But I did have a cousin who did.
Oh yeah.
So he became the primary caregiver. I think he took 6 months, and his wife went back to work. So that was pretty cool. I loved it.
I think Sweden, they have a lot more of that going on. I think Sweden have got it worked out. That was really cool. Because I just really think, it's so important for fathers to have that time with their kids,
Yeah,
their young
exactly.
children. I just see so many families where children, not all the time, and again, I'm no psychologist, and this is just my personal opinion from an observation. There's a
Mm.
lot of families where the children are close to the mother, and
Yes.
that's because the father wasn't there in the formative years as much, wasn't around as much because they were working.
Yeah.
I just think that's a real shame, and there's a real opportunity to change that. So you did all right with that question, Meenal.
Did I? Because no, I felt like no, I didn't went up in the
No, just
tangent.
like be honest, because it's like sort of having an honest conversation
Mm.
about the real world, right? And what people think,
Rude.
whether and all we're doing here is inviting each other to open up the conversation and think about what we believe, whether it's actually true. That was our first ever. What would you do?
Mm. Exciting. More to come.
That's it. I don't have anything else. I'm just going to say this. Share stories, please. We want to hear your stories. If you've got any experiences that you want to share with us, especially on bias or discrimination, and how did you handle it? And did you handle it how you'd like to, or would you like to handle it a different way? We would love to know, and we will read it out.
Great.
Right. All right, then. That's it. That's it from us.
Yeah.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.